And it looks like we're off.
While we wait on them to get over to Kakariko or wherever they're going for their first checks, do you know what sprite that is Michael's using? I don't recognize it.
He likes to use the Inkling sprite from Splatoon.
Okay, I thought it might have been that, but I didn't even realize that was a sprite, so I didn't want to say it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what they all are unless you know them. There's just so many to choose from.
It's a fun little thing to play with, though.
But they both decided to go for the spectacle, or not spectacle, the sanctuary bonk rocks, the other S word. And looks like Oase is going to go up and check the lumberjack. We get a red rupee pull from the tree, which is really good early on.
Red from the tree, blue from the bush crabs. No need to worry about money early on in this one.
Although you do have to be careful not to spend too much time farming rupees, because since you have access to so many areas, you're more than likely going to be able to find a 300 here or there. All right, we get a map check. I think I saw Hera and Eastern were pendants, and neither of them were green.
I thought I saw green at Eastern, but one sec. I'll pull up the restream and double check that.
In any case, it looks like we have the blue male on the lumberjack ledge, so it's more than likely that we're not going to see Aghanim 1 killed this time around. There is still a chance that it might be logically required, such as if somehow the mirror wound up in mirror and hammer wound up in Pyramid Fairy. Or maybe not, I don't know. There's probably some way that it works out, but it's very, very unlikely.
Yeah, because the runners have so many ways to clip up and down the overworld. You can get off Dark Death Mountain as a bunny if you really want to, and then super bunny your way around even without the Moon Pearl. So, hard to say they won't have Dark World access.
I mean, I have actually gone around and tried to figure out if all the clips and such are possible, and there's really only one that I know of that is not possible completely bootless, that is somewhat productive. So, if you have the know-how, you can get literally anywhere in the world that you want to. It's just usually not worth the time investment. But we got our runners going through Kakariko. We find a sword in the well, and looks like Michael K is clearing out Death Mountain.
Michael did get a hint about the well in Spectacle Rock. Unfortunately, it told him about the heart piece, not the sharp thing.
Well, that's just the nature of hints. Sometimes their aim is a little off.
Yeah, and with 4 other checks in that well, I doubt it's a location he strays far from for long.
Get a nice Cane of Samaria, which will help a lot with excavating Turtle Rock. We also get a nice book early on, which will help figure out what's on the Ether and Bombos tablets, even before we get our second sword and all that.
Absolutely do not need that book for anything other than those tablets, though. Unless they want to have a sneak peek at what's on the Master Sword pedestal, but don't think we'll be seeing that one before these guys make their way over to Skull Woods, if that.
Oh, it looks like Michael K is showing off a screen wrap that he somewhat found with a way to get to the graveyard ledge. All without spin speed and all that. We do have a setup that does use spin speed, but that screen wrap is also pretty safe and can get you there as well. It's a relatively recent discovery.
The screen wraps are probably the classic glitches that I both see and understand the least, at least as far as the ones we'll be seeing these runners do.
Well, I mean, there is the common one that goes to Hera, but that's about it for most applications. The other ones just wind up being a bit convoluted and not worth it to pull out in the middle of a run, but sometimes they can be useful, such as when you want to check the graveyard ledge when you don't have a sword yet.
He didn't find anything up there. He did farm some bombs, though. We saw him go into that twice. Graveyard Ledge is a great location for that if you can get there within 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's one of the best places to get your bombs for free if you haven't found any yet. And it looks like Oase is going to do another sort of screen wrap glitch. Oh, he didn't quite hit it, and he fake flippered, which means he's stuck in that water there. As far as I know, there isn't really a way out of that. You have to save and quit out.
He's trying to find one, but at this point, I think he's just spinning his wheels, wasting time, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was going to try to get to the powder bat since he found the powder so early, and he does have the Cane of Samaria, so he could fake it even though he doesn't have any magic. But now he's realized that, yeah, I'm kind of stuck. Meanwhile, Michael K is trying to go to the K45 there, that we lovingly refer to the Flute Grove. He's having a bit of trouble with these guards, and it was unfortunately getting the wrong teleport. He got an upward for the first one. That could have been just
I think that was because he
knockback.
got hit, right?
It could have been. And we see the other Kane at the race game. We'll see if Oase is going to cheat it, or is he just... Yep, he's going to cheat the race game and get the Cane of Birna. So now he's got that.
Get wrecked, trash man. I don't need to play your stinking games here, but looks like it's the desert next, which I seem to see this as sort of an extension of Kakariko and the overworld glitches, because you just clip on down from the race game right there.
Yeah, it's really weird how your world access changes when you have the access to all these boot clips and such. Really changes your mindset about how the world is created.
It's basically, you can go anywhere, but you can't necessarily do anything at a lot of those anywhere.
Right, like we can clear out the front of desert pretty easily since we have the boots automatically and get the item off the torch, but we can't necessarily kill landmolas until we find a fire source, so it may wind up turning into a double dip anyway.
Right. It's the same story with, say, a Tower of Hera. You can get into it, you can get a couple checks, but if you have to go to the basement, you're stuck, and until you find something like that Sword Oase has, you can't kill Moldorm either.
Now, I wonder if Oase is setting up a death warp here real quick. He may or may not be right now. It's hard to tell right now.
Looks like not. If I had to wager, I'd say he probably wants to leave and run down. Or maybe.
He didn't check the desert ledge, so he's got to backtrack for that at least. Although maybe he's realizing he can go out the right-hand entrance here and head to Agina or something.
Yeah, Agina is what I thought he was doing.
Yeah, you never see this entrance be used in really any mode except for the glitched ones, just because of that access out to Agina and such. It's a lot easier going that way than out the left side or the front even. But now we're getting a Bombos check. Oh, it's the Moon Pearl.
That's some text you don't see very often.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever seen that text before. Alright, here we go. Now we're going to hopefully see... Yep, we're seeing the clip to the powder bat on Michael's screen. It's one of those screen reps, and it really makes the screen kind of hard to figure out what exactly is going on. That's one of the things about overworld glitches when you start getting to the more screen wrap stuff is you have to know kind of where you're landing and what the screen kind of looks like where you land. It's just one of those things you just take the time and learn.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
and there's the second sword.
Well, that kind of answers that question, doesn't it? That could be the logical way that we're supposed to get the Moon Pearl anyway, since the clip that Michael did is in logic.
Yeah, I totally believe that's the logic. That's what the logic wants him to do then. It does mean that Michael will be able to get his Moon Pearl as soon as he goes down to the area. Also, he'll have to find his way back or just find another sword.
We're also seeing a map wrap out of Oase here, going from desert over to ice rod. Now, he has to be very careful here. If he gets nudged to the right or moves to the right at all, his game will hard lock. Ooh, oh no! The little grass bomb scared him there, I think. And, it's one of those things that, you kind of have to power through it. When you're map wrapped like that, if you bonk or something to the left or take damage from the left, you actually don't get nudged. So you just kind of tank it to your face and you're fine. But it's hard to take away that reflex.
Yeah, and that was probably the least lucky bomb placement I've ever seen. Jeez. Does look like he may be chasing a more conventional route. Damn Mini Moldworm Cave, the sort of no glitches route to get back there, though. We'll see if he takes it all the way or just stops after Mini Moldworm or where he goes.
Well, after Ice Rod, if you've got the cash for it, or even if you don't, you can still set up a water walk out of Ice Rod Cave and check out, at the very least, check out Zora's area, if not do the waterfall on the ledge if that happens to be something. So I wouldn't be surprised if he continues all the way to Ice Rod Cave. Oh, but gets knocked into the pit there, taking a death.
That one was clearly not intentional. Little unfortunate there, bonking off that door right back into the Mini Moldworm.
Oh, but we're finally getting a Link's House check.
Only took 12 minutes.
Anyway, Oase just keeps getting bullied by these mini moldworms.
Sees that 8-drop, just resorts to a bomb for the last one instead of messing with it. Really don't blame him.
We find the flute. And not much else, it seems. But it does look like that Michael K is going to get his Moon Pearl right now, so that's going to open up the Dark World for him in its entirety.
Pretty sure the red boomerang was the most useful thing in that Mini Moldworm Cave, by the way.
I disagree somewhat. Despite the fact that the flute does get a bad rap, if you get it early enough, it can help if you take the time to go activate it, because it makes it much easier to get up to Death Mountain or even over to the Ice Rod Cave, which, considering he just finished Mini Moldworm Cave, would not be a bad idea to go activate it and just flute down there real quick.
That is true. Ice Rod Cave was a point I hadn't considered, but I think... No, it was Michael that saved the old man earlier, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember who it was.
Yeah, Michael did some Death Mountain stuff already, and Oase, however, is deciding to go to Death Mountain instead of activating the flutes. Meanwhile, we're seeing a Hera clip out of Michael K, one of those screen wraps, and just don't worry about it. It just takes you to Hera. We'll see Hera a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, even once it's cleared, we'll probably... Well, if it gets cleared, being a pendant, then we'll see it a couple times just to reset the camera to the top of Death Mountain.
Oh boy, that's a helpful hint.
May as well make that one green, in my opinion.
Alright, so Oase is following suit, going into Hera. Since they both have a sword and found the big key, I'm sure they're both going to clear it as much as they can. Although we found one item down in the basement, if we find another, there's also the chance that they just abandon the rest of it, because it's unlikely there's something on pedestal, and it's not going to be too far out of the way. Oh, that's a good hint.
Yeah, I learned pretty hard last fall that the requires the hammer is not actually that broad of a hint.
Right, because currently with the hint system, everything. Oh, and we get a glove on the other tablet, Ether. Wow, those are pretty useful.
Michael's going to be very happy with that one once he leaves Hera.
Yeah. As far as stuff that absolutely requires the hammer, that's kind of just down to the hammer pegs, and Swamp, and GT, I think. There really is not much that is explicitly blocked by the hammer.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyways, to answer a question in chat, swords, there was one sword in the Kakariko well, which both runners have, and then the second sword was at the magic bat, which Oase attempted a screen wrap to get to without the hammer and failed it, and has not yet been back to it.
I think we're getting our first look at the Paradox Cave from Oase's side, so we'll get to see if there's anything of use in here. Meanwhile, I'm sure that Michael is going to go check the Ether tablet real quick and get his glove. Now, that is the only glove he's going to need for the seed. Logically, you are still expected to use the mitts to get into Ice Palace and check the smiths and such, but you don't actually need that if you have the know-how to get around it.
And both of these guys definitely have that know-how. Looks like Paradox Cave was just 7 pieces of trash, though. That's a little sad.
One of my favorite little bits about Overworld glitches is learning that the clouds are actually made of water. It's for some reason makes sense in the game that the clouds up there are water. Even though you're never supposed to get up to them.
I mean, it makes logical sense, doesn't it?
It does, it's just not something I would have expected the programmers to have actually put in any capabilities. But we do find our first bottle in the Spiral Cave.
Would be a lot more interesting of a find if they were allowed to do glitches in the underworld, but they're not, so it's just a bottle.
Well, there's still some interesting things you can do with the bottle in the overworld, without really needing to worry about too much. It can still be a helpful find if you're looking to sequence break some things. Meanwhile, Oase is doing a nice little thing we call the funny auto walk thing. That's actually what we call it, where you land on a transition in a specific way where Link just kind of walks halfway across the screen. Not entirely sure why he does that, but we use it in quite a few places, and that being one of them. It looks like Oase is going to go for a Houlihan here, setting up his camera by going into the cave, and then he's going to jump into the water here a few times to slightly offset where the game kind of thinks he is, and he's going to fall in the hole, and that'll just take him to Houlihan. Because Houlihan is actually an arrow checking room of sorts.
This is one that you've probably seen in No Major Glitches runs as well, but I've seen other ways to set it up in Overworld glitches, but always nice to see a classic one like that. And it did give him 500 rupees. He can wander on over to King Zora whenever he wants without worrying about that at this point.
Michael got a little bit bullied there by the dead rocks. He's trying to figure out where exactly he can transition down to get into the waterfall here. He gets it. So he's going to be able to at least check these 2 chests, but he has to save and quit from here. Because there's no way for him to get out of the waterfall currently. He'll have to save and quit out. But he's going to go ahead and check what the fairy gives him. Green potion isn't bad. You can use that for a couple of things.
Yeah, might come in clutch somewhere like upstairs GT, for example.
I was thinking more glitchy shenanigans.
I've still yet to see, like, I obviously haven't seen every match this tournament, but I've yet to see somebody do a bottle glitch on the overworld this tournament. And I'm not going to hold my breath till I actually see it.
Now, one thing you may have noticed there is that Michael only has the regular glove, but he was able to pick up the mitts there when he jumped down to the King's Tube. That's because we kind of landed on the seam between the bush and the rock, and the properties got kind of confused. So you can actually pick up that black rock if you land in the right spot, even if you don't even have any sort of glove. It's kind of weird.
Sounds like your typical 2 things happen at once and well-programmed game can't handle it to me.
At least it works in our favor in that case.
That's true. Although everybody's favorite fake flippers is the same application, so...
Alright, so here's our Dark World map check. We have green Pendant Ice Palace with red for Skull Woods and Turtle Rock. So Pendant Ice is not nice to see.
Five, 6, Skullwoods and Skullwoods and Turtle Rock is nice though, especially because they already have the Ice Rod. I guess 5, 6 doesn't really mean anything in Overworld glitches because you just clip into the Pyramid Fairy.
Provided you find the
mirror. It at least means... True. It does mean the Fire Rod will be a thing though.
I mean, the Fire Rod could be in the Pyramid Fairy for all we know.
Yes, it just means they'll be finding it is all. Which seems pretty obvious, but... I just happen to really like the Fire Rod.
It's a good weapon. So Oase is clearing out Eastern as Michael K is going through the Dark World Death Mountain. I imagine he's going to go into Turtle Rock for a little bit, check the few chests that he can for now.
I mean, as long as it's not 2 keys in the Fire Rod side, he can check all of it, but try next in those 2 chests.
Yeah, he has... Well, yeah, he can do that as long as the big key isn't locked away behind the torch room.
Okay, true.
And we find the flippers, which is pretty nice. We are going to need that for Swamp at the very least. Actually, that's the only thing we need the flippers for. And we learned that the purple chest has only cash in it from Oase's side, so that takes out one of our mitts checks.
Reduces it to just the Smiths, and that's even if they don't know how to get into that.
But we have a bottle, so we're good on that front. Okay, it looks like Michael is going to go for a laser bridge clip here. This is the... Or is he going to do that? Or is he going to head into GT or something? No, he's looking for a fairy out of these bushes. And I guess he's doing a save and quit to replenish his health? I'm not sure.
Well, we'll see what he has in mind here in a sec. Still the mountain, it looks like.
Okay, he may have just been working at making sure he had health. He's doing a bomb clip up to get up from the lower part of this area up to GT, which is kind of neat. You don't really see too many overworld bomb clips. And Oase is going to be doing a clip from the flute spot 5, going down to Ice Ride. He's got to do 2 downward teleports, and then one of those will turn into a funny auto walk thing. Michael unfortunately missed the laser bridge clip he was trying. He got the screen. He got to jump on the other side of the screen, but didn't quite get everything else there to work properly. So he kind of just jumped all the way down the mountain. He could have gone up Super Bunny Cave and fixed his camera that way, but he decided that a save and quit was a better use of his time, I guess. But he is going to try it again. Meanwhile, Oase is setting up a water walk out of the Ice Rod Cave, so we'll get to see where he tries to take that.
King Zora seems like the obvious choice to me for that. Although I don't think we've seen Hobo either, have we?
No, we haven't. Not from either runner. I was wondering when Oase was going to break out the, oh! He's trying to do the NMG fake flipper, but something went wrong. Alright, now he's got it. Meanwhile, Michael K is getting bullied by a Lionel there.
Trying to figure out something to get around that. I think he wanted to clip on the ledge on that screen, but nothing doing.
He keeps on arming spin speed and hopping down. He could also just dash buffer it through, but he is trying to go for the spin speed method, which is a bit tricky since once you touch a ledge under spin speed, you're going to hop it, no matter what.
Yeah, and the hops seem very clearly unintentional to me, although it seems like he's gotten some results here.
Alright, he finally got the screen wrap to work, so now he's at Laser Bridge, using a clip that is not in logic.
You mean laser bridge clip in general, not in logic, or that specific one he used?
Both. We do find our second bottle, and a small key, and a death warp.
Death warp right back to the safety door. I like it.
We're also seeing our first look at the escape dungeon from Oase, hitting the uncle area and all that.
And this next dark room coming up for Michael, not a difficult one as long as you know how to do it.
Well, when you're backtracking like this, all you gotta do is hold up.
Yeah, a lot easier in reverse. You don't even have to find the switch.
There's our other glove. So now, well, Ice Palace still isn't in logic, but the Smiths are now.
Right. Well, Ice Palace isn't in logic?
No way to melt the Freezor yet.
Right, you're right. I saw the flippers, and I was like, no, you fake flipper that. You don't need. But you are right about the Freezors. Oase gets about 80% of the way to his death warp, then just chooses to save and quit instead.
Meanwhile, the Pokey is kind of getting away from Michael here.
Yeah, it does that if you don't have the Tempered Sword, and it's frustrating. All that just to get a key for a key, unfortunately. Did Oase just pick up a second can of burner, or did he lose it when he reset at some point?
He lost it when he hardlocked trying to get to the Ice Rod Cave the first time.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he had saved and quit before doing that or not.
No, he was coming from the desert area, so that seems like what he lost. I guess it's fortunate that he messed up the Bat Cave clip and had to save and quit out of that.
Yeah, otherwise
he would have lost a lot more.
Yeah, it would have been basically his entire game up to that point. I'm hoping to see a fire rod in this chest, but it's not.
Well, there's not much more that Michael can do here. He can go check the hint at the very front, but that's about it. Meanwhile, Owase's... Okay, I missed when Oase got the lamp. That must have been an escape there somewhere, so he does have a fire source, which is nice.
Thanks, game. Anyways, we did see 3 small keys in Turtle Rock, if I was counting correctly. So 1 small key and a something on the fire rod side. I can't remember if we saw both map and compass. I know we saw at least one of them, though.
Did we see the big key? I don't think we did.
Maybe not.
Or was it in Chomps and I wasn't paying attention?
No, there was a compass in Chomps.
Okay, yeah, then it's got to be big key over on the torch side.
Oh, right, and we've seen 4 items anyways. 2 hearts and a piece on Laser Bridge, and then the mitts is 4. So yeah, big key, small key on the fire rod side.
And we saw a bottle on Laser Bridge as well, so...
Oh, must have been a bottle instead of a heart piece, because I know there was a small key there and 2 heart containers. My apologies. Anyways, the big point being, Turtle Rock, 5 items, Trinex has 1.
And down goes Lanmolas for Owase's side, giving us our very first crystal.
Half an hour in, not a bad time to get that. Unfortunately, the dropped item wasn't particularly useful, but... I guess the big thing at this point, we still haven't seen a 3rd sword anywhere. So when will Oase get back to Magic Bat? That's the biggest question we're looking at right now.
Yeah, because he still needs to grab the Moon Pearl out of the Bombos tablet. And he knows that's there.
Yeah, and he also knows that there's a glove on this Ether tablet that's right next door to him. And the way things are looking, it looks like that's the bottleneck on his progression right now. Well, I guess probably... Well, no, without the mirror, he doesn't have very many options for Super Money, does he?
No, he actually doesn't have any that are in logic.
So yeah, the Pearl does definitely look to be the bottleneck at this point. And I think we're going to look at Michael going into the Dark World here too, using this Village of Outcasts board. Oase trying to get out of Tower of Hera after grabbing the second item. Falls down, cannot hit the crystal switch because the boomerang refuses to go off the screen. And doesn't see any other option but to save and quit out.
He could have used the Cane of Samaria or the Ice Rod, but at that point he had already tried Death Warping a little bit, but that wound up being slower than just save and quitting out. He does the same sort of clip to get to the King's Tomb that Michael did, so we're going to see him grab that. Meanwhile, we've got Michael K going through Skull Woods. He can't quite finish it until he finds the Fire Rod, though.
Pretty decent chance he'll be able to grab the second item out of here, though. The first being a relatively useless heartbeat. Looks like he's deciding to check the Vanilla Big Key location before going off to that chest on the right, or did he do that out of order while I was watching Oase try to get out of here?
Pretty sure he hit the chest to the right of the big chest first. That's sort of a common route through Skull Woods. And while Overworld Glitches kind of changes your access to the different dungeons, your major routes through them are largely the same, except for Turtle Rock, pretty much.
Right, because once you're in a dungeon, you're back to no major glitches style. So that was just, I didn't see it. I was too busy watching Oase's misadventures in Hera. But with that Vanilla Big Key, he does have one more check to find that last item with.
So you see Oase trying to hop in from the clouds. One thing you need to know about that is you actually want to be a little bit over the corner there. He's not quite far enough over. He needs to be a little bit more to the left, because that kind of acts as more of a wall that you jump down. And there he goes. Now he gets it. It's just when you jump down like that, it's trying to place you on the other side of a wall. And so you have a thicker wall, then he's going to try to land a bit lower.
And then that lets you back in bounds.
Alright, so now we're finally getting a Zora check.
Nothing on the ledge seems to be pretty good news for him. You could check that with fake flippers and then a clip, but it means you'd have to take another long walk back around. So I think all of our flipper checks were just bunk so far.
Did we see Hobo yet? I'm not entirely sure if we have. I don't think anybody's clipped over to there yet. Or, no, yeah, we did see that, and it wasn't anything useful.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I tend to forget about garbage checks about 10 seconds after I see them.
And we find our third bottle with another green potion. Although at this point, with the item set that Michael has, he actually doesn't really have any use for the green potions in terms of doing any fun shenanigans with them. And there's our hammer, which means now we can finally start looking for the bow.
Actually, there is one bow lock location I forgot about earlier. Wouldn't it be fun if the bow were in the big chest here?
Yeah, it could be.
With the hammer being present here, that would be about the most comfortable and convenient place for it.
Alright, so Oase is in the Dark World now as a bunny. It looks like he's... What is he gonna do? Is he gonna try for a fake flute here? Now, this is not something that's in logic, but he can do it to get a link state for the regular portion of the Dark World, which would let him dash around and such.
And that's what he bought the blue potion for, it's looking like, because you need one of those to trigger it.
Yep, blue potion plus transition equals flute in this game. Or at least on the overworld. That's sometimes true in the underworld, but we don't need to talk about that right now.
Makes sense. I mean, the flute's blue for a reason, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is... As I've seen in chat in here before, sometimes the glitches seem like that they were put in the game on purpose. So with that blue potion, we get a Super Bunny state when you land from the duck, and you can take that link, the Super Bunny, go to a pull thing, like the pull tree or the Thieves' Town Grate, and as soon as you press A at it, you turn into Link. Now, this will stay with you until you go into the underworld and come back out again, because the game does a check for the Moon Pearl whenever you exit to the overworld.
Right, and that's sort of related to why the traditional waterfall fairy water walk works. But
yep.
The more important point here is he's got one shot. What's he going to use it on? Looks like these.
I'm surprised he didn't open up the brewery yet, because that's one thing you usually want to do when you have your link state right then and there. Finds his hammer, although it is still out of logic for him, so...
Doesn't matter. It's actually probably the best possible find for him, because it will drive him back towards that magic bat for his second sword.
That's true. And he's taking a Death Warp, which will actually give him a fake Dark World state when he gets to the Overworld, which will let him be Link, but only for the Village of Outcasts screen. As soon as he takes a transition off of that Overworld screen, he'll be resolved back to the Light World. Nonetheless, he can still go through the rest of Thieves' Town and finish that dungeon off normally here.
Yep, and then that will buy him additionally one more check in the Village of Outcasts once he's done with Thieves' Town. Maybe the brewery, as you mentioned, or his choice of Sea House chess game. Any of those.
Oh, and we're getting a nice little LSD blind out of Michael K here. For some reason, when you try to open up your select menu or other menus, or even use a potion while blind is kind of transforming there, you get different effects, and one of those is a messed up palette for a little bit.
It's pretty fun looking. That's about the nicest thing I can say about it, though. I find those bright colors hard to look at.
And find the mirror off of blind. Now, if you actually use the mirror when you're doing that instead of the menus, you actually get your screen to be a lot more pixelated, and it stays for a bit, which can be kind of harder on the eyes than what this is.
I'll pass on testing that one for myself, then. Oase risking himself to get another hint that he completely already knows about. Very fun, very worthwhile. Vanilla Stun Prize. I'm not sure if we've seen that yet this seed. We probably have, and I just failed to notice.
Yeah, I haven't really paid attention to it either. Fortunately, that Bomb hopped up a little further. He hasn't actually opened up the hole yet, and he hasn't noticed? Uh-oh.
That's the only explanation for that, but that's... I hate to see that sort of thing. I think he realized because he was turning back up when he got hit by that anti-fairy, though.
I think he was more trying to powder it to get some hearts back, but got tagged instead.
Big time loss for him, regardless of how that turns out to have been, which... I hate to see it. That's all I can say. Michael, meanwhile, was in the mire area, left the mire area. I don't think I caught what medallion was needed to open the dungeon.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention either, unfortunately. But he is going to go ahead and grab the smiths here and turn that in.
Doesn't have to fiddle with any glitches to grab them, so he's got those mitts. Just grab and go.
I don't think he got the hint that the purple chest was nothing, did he? Or was that in Tower of Hera? I forget. I know no, that was in Eastern, wasn't it? And he hasn't been to Eastern.
That was the Eastern Palace, yeah.
I'm still a little worried for Oase because I'm pretty sure that bomb hole is not open up in the attic of Thieves Town, so he's going to run into a rude awakening when he finally drops off the maid into the boss room.
Yeah, he didn't go back for it, which means that he definitely hasn't noticed. Also, I did check, and Mire entry does appear to be Ether.
Alright, so we've got that covered on Oase's side.
Right. That is me. Well, Ice Palace being a pendant, but Ether's probably the only medallion we need this seed. Unless the Fire Rod is inside Ice Palace or behind Ice Palace.
Or even on the, well, no, that doesn't really matter either, because we just need the Fire Rod for Trinix and Mothula at this point. And there it is!
There it is. So, yeah, Ether going to be the only medallion we'll be seeing used today. Might see the other ones picked up, because, as usual, this is rando and anything can happen.
And Oase is finally getting the realization that the hole isn't open.
Yeah, so he's going to have to do yet more running around through Thieves Town to go back and open it up.
Not only that, he's got to go back down to the basement and grab the maiden again. She will not go upstairs to the attic with you.
Can use this shortcut at least, skip the Hellway, but it is an extra couple transitions as well. So I don't think it's actually faster.
Not as, especially if you don't remember which state the pegs are in. Well, we find our third sword in the Hype Cave. Nothing else of note that we really worry about. At this point, we're missing, I think, just the hook shot and the bow. And the bow we know is somewhere, somewhere locked by the hammer. And Oase throwing a few extra bombs into the hole, showing his frustrations.
Just asserting dominance. Sorta needs to after not properly blowing it up earlier. Yeah, the hook shot and then the bow is Swamp Palace, Ice Palace, Ganon's Tower, take your pick. Looks like it might be Ganon's Tower for Michael. Is that where he's going?
No, well, it is now, yeah. He had his screen rep, so he could have been going for the Pyramid Fairy, but with the Hammer, Cane of Samaria, and Fire Rod, Ganon's Tower is a pretty good play. There's a lot of items in here, so we could wind up finding our hook shot in the available areas that we have. Plus, he knows how to hover, and he also knows the Mimic Clip for the Upstairs of GT, which is allowed in this tournament. So we might see him actually full clear GT here at this point.
Yeah. A good chunk of it won't be in logic, specifically the left side due to the hook shot, but...
And the upstairs due to the bow.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's going to complain too hard if we actually see the Mimic Clip showed off. I've yet to actually see somebody do it in a race myself.
And here we have Oase finally taking on Blind, re-rescuing the maiden from the prison, and just following the script. Oh, last hit a little bit off, but we're going to get it.
Yeah. Blind going down to the bottom is something that you generally don't want to see if you're trying to go fast, but sometimes it just happens that way.
Alright, so just kind of a reminder, we are still in fake Dark World on Owase's side, so if he does try to transition away from here, he's going to wind up in the Light World unless he mirrors first.
And that was vanilla rando room levels of bad right there on Michael's side. But now we're off to the Hammerlock side, which means we stand a fairly good chance of finding the bow over here.
It looks like Oase is correcting his world here, so he's going to be in the real dark, or real light world now, so... Gonna activate his flute, and I'm not sure what else he's gonna do from this point. I hope he goes for the Batcave. He does need to go there.
I think there is a way to get to Hype Cave and Super Bunny it, right? It's just a really long setup.
For his item set currently and lack of blue potions, I think there is a way to do it, but it requires using a mirror wrap, and I'm not sure if he knows that way of doing it.
Well, point's moot, because he is going to the Batcave finally, which will be his Master Sword. We'll let him grab both his Pearl and his First Glove off the respective tablets once he makes his way back to each spot.
And more frustration.
Yeah, he could have had that like 45 minutes ago if he didn't fail his trip.
And for the time being, he's going to try to keep his mirror portal right there in Kakariko, so as soon as he's done with the tablets, he can flute right back over there and head right into the Dark World once again.
We did see the Ganon's Tower Big Key in the Fire Snake room, but now correct me if I'm wrong, but Rando Room is the last Hammerlock chest in GT, right? Nothing beyond actually is because of the right side.
I believe so, because, yeah, you can go through the left side all the way to Ice Armos. So no bow in GT.
Silvers at least, but yeah, no bow, which is... reduces our options to Swamp and Ice at this point, I think, is all.
Well, Oase, I'm not sure what he was trying to do there on Death Mountain with that clip, but since he save and quit, he did lose his mirror portal. So he's going to have to go back to the Dark World the normal way here. There's our Bombos medallion in the GT big chest.
The one that you only see checked because you end up in GT without being in Go mode. And yes, to answer chat, we got a hint. I believe it was in the Tower of Hera upstairs that the bow is locked behind the hammer.
Actually, at this point, it could be Mimic Cave, I think. Because that is also always hammer locked.
Oh, right.
And we've seen hammer pegs, and I think the only other one that we haven't really seen yet is the first chest in Swamp. Or anything past the first chest in Swamp.
There are the two right side chests in Ice Palace and Cold Stare, but we're hoping it's not there.
Right.
And yeah, our tracker Salmon is calling out. We did see probably the coolest Armos fight in the game on Michael's side, using the Cane of Burna to wipe them out. At least till he ran out of magic, had to fall back on his...
I mean, he still has those green potions, so he could have popped one of those. He might be saving it for Ganon at least, because right now he doesn't have the lamp. And again, I'm not entirely sure where we found that. I think it was in Escape.
I am pretty sure it was at this point, so I think that's the only place that Blase has been that Michael hasn't. Besides, well, Eastern Palace as well. I think those two places are it.
Alright, so we get to see a nice little T-Rock climb from Michael K. It's one of the best ways we have of going from the west side of Dark Death Mountain to the east side. Especially if we want to start using things like the mirror wrap here that he's about to use.
Helmasaur is considered hammer-locked in hints, yes?
Yes, because
but
of the
bow
basement.
can't be,
yeah.
But the bow cannot be on Helmasaur because you have to shoot the ice statue to reach him to begin with. So, really does not matter for purposes of this discussion, because we're talking about the bow specifically.
Michael's about to be in for a bit of a rude awakening here when he gets to the Trinex door, because he doesn't have the big key yet.
And he burned his green potion to have a more efficient way of hitting switches when there's a big jar right here. I think he's still got another one in reserve, but... Anyways, chat's asking how mirror wraps work. Would you mind fielding that one for me, Torso?
Well, it's, again, sort of the same thing with the YBAs where you combine an item with a transition and the game just kind of freaks out for a little bit. What actually winds up happening is you just kind of bypass that transition for a moment, but if you transition back again, it sort of takes you to the middle of an overworld screen. And actually, in the case of the larger overworld screens, such as Death Mountain Deserts and Mire and all of those, it actually takes you about 3/4 of the way across. And if you do that at certain heights on the Death Mountain screen, then you can wind up right at Laser Bridge or at the Big Chest. We also can use a mirror wrap to get into Ice Palace without the mitts, and is one of the more common ways of getting into the Ice Palace without mitts and overworld glitches. But it is not expected in the logic because we have decided not to have same frame transitional glitches be part of the logic. So none of the YBAs or mirror wraps, or even the screen wrap clips outside of the Bat Cave are in logic at all.
guess Michael was taking a few seconds to decide how he wanted to get back into Turtle Rock since he realized he does need the big key out of the front segment. Gonna be Mimic Cave first for him, and then I guess we'll see him use the big chest entrance and probably use that rail clip bonk so that he can mirror right back after getting his big key.
Alright, so that's another one of our hammerlock locations dead for Bo.
I love watching people hammer dash out of Mimic Cave, especially right into the portal.
You kind of want it. You kind of want it to be into the portal, otherwise you get stuck there a little bit.
Yeah, into the portal is great for speed, but in general, just that animation looks really nice.
Or lack thereof, I guess, because it is just kind of the single frame as he dashes along.
True, but just the whole Link holding up the hammer thing, I'm a fan of it. So where's Oase going? Looks like it might be Hype Cave for him, which will get him a third sword at least.
And hopefully he'll take that around up through Stumpy and get his fire rod.
Yeah, if he gets that, it'll let him go back and he can clear out Turtle Rock at his leisure. But still a few other things he'll have to hunt down before he can make more progress on his crystals after that.
I don't think he's been in the Skull Woods yet. Michael has, but wasn't able to clear it due to lack of fire rod, so he'll at least be able to do that all in one go.
Yeah, that's a good advantage to have. It's the sort of thing he needs to be able to do at this point, with the way some of his bad luck and, I'll say, skipped locations have unfortunately not played in his favor.
Alright, so guaranteed we have our last item on Trinix in Turtle Rock here. Well, I'll say, meanwhile, he's trying to get into Mire area, but he's on the wrong bump and gets himself stuck again. That's not good.
I actually forgot he had Ether, which does make Mire a perfectly viable play for him, too. He can full clear that.
Right, he does have the lamp, so he can get through the Firelock section, has the Cane of Samaria. So it's entirely in logic for him.
I do wonder if that bow hint might cause him to shy away, though, in favor of, say, Swamp Palace once he finds the flippers, if he does go to Hookshot Cave and hover that.
I think he tried Hookshot Cave not long ago, but he didn't quite get all the hovers down, if he attempted them at all. Because I know he was up by the Turtle Rock area here just a moment ago. So it looks like he's going to go for a mirror wrap down to the laser bridge, rather than do the screen wrap clip that Michael K did earlier. Although I guess he did another mirror clip not too long ago in an attempt to get to Trinex.
Yeah. The good news is he can full clear this dungeon now with that fire rod. He's got nothing to worry about. Although we'll see if he leaves the dungeon at any point in his routing, or if he'll be able to just mirror right back to safety door when he's done.
He made it to Chomps earlier, so I'm not entirely sure if he's willing to backtrack all the way again.
Michael ran out of magic. Luckily, he does still have that green potion in stock, but he's playing dangerous with only 2 hearts here. While Michael kills Trinex, chat's asking how this differs from normal Link to the Past randomizers. In normal Link to the Past randomizer races that you've seen on this channel in the past, it's been a no major glitches format, which means that you can do some minor things like, say, fake flippers or super speed, but you're not allowed to do the major game-breaking things like, say, clipping up ledges or going out of bounds. In this format, you're allowed to do all of those things as long as you're on the overworld. The instant you go into a dungeon, a cave, a house, any of the locations that make up the so-called underworld, in contrast, you're back to normal, no major glitches. But the end result that this has is you start with the Pegasus boots to make flips much easier, and that basically means you have the entire overworld open to you from the very beginning.
And now that Michael K is done with Turtle Rock, he's going to go ahead and try a map rep to take him from Turtle Rock all the way over to Skull Woods. He gets it, but he's got to be careful here. It's another one of those map rep situations where you don't want to move or get nudged to the right. Now, he wants to get into this entrance without getting stuck, and he gets it. So that entrance does fix his camera, so now he's safe and can finish off Skull Woods from this side.
Yep, and he is right on the side of it he wants to be as well to finish it. Saves him a bit of a trek through the front part.
Yeah, that is one of the more useful map reps that you can learn to help save time on a bunch of areas. Oase, unfortunately, went the wrong way with the track here on the torches and has to turn around first. He doesn't have the hook shot to speed this room up, unfortunately.
The only silver lining is that he realized before he shot, so he didn't actually waste any magic, just time. And we do see Michael just bumping that Gibdo into the spike twice, causing his damage to be overwritten by the spike's damage and killing it in 2 hits, which is always convenient.
But he doesn't want that to happen with Mothula here, because Moth, for some reason, is immune to spikes. That's great design. But he still gets a nice quick kill out of it.
Yeah, devs are jerks. They don't want any of the boss fights to be too easy, which is why Armos Knights exists at all.
Alright, so Oase is probably going to finish up Turtle Rock here and get that crystal.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for him not to do so at this point, and that will make his 3rd crystal, where Michael just picked up his 4th.
3rd. He hasn't beat Desert yet, and Tower of Hera was a pendant.
Yeah, my apologies. I just saw 4 things lit up on the tracker and was like, oh, 4 crystals.
Well, there's our last medallion.
So yeah, excuse me, 3 crystals. Oase will be getting his 3rd here. That'll actually tie them up in crystals. At least until Michael goes and does something else. Also, yes, Bombos was in the Ganon's Tower big chest, which Michael picked up. On the other hand, where was that Ether medallion? I must have missed it earlier when Oase picked it up.
I missed it as well. I want to say it was either Eastern or Escape, because that's one of the places that Oase's done that Michael hasn't.
Yeah, one of the two. And it's required either way, so we'll have to see Michael stumble upon it at some point. Are we seeing Ice Palace from Michael here? No, just Aura.
Alright, Trinex is down for Oase, and we'll get to see what he thinks of next. He could try to clip off of Death Mountain there and head straight to Catfish, which is not something we've seen yet out of either runner.
Could see Catfish. Might see that. No, it looks like that is Catfish, yeah. I was thinking we might see the same screen wrap to Skull Woods that Michael did, because that's a crystal that he can full clear and hasn't yet. Nope.
If I were Oase at this point, I would be a bit averse to trying out map wraps, considering what happened with the one for Ice Rod.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair point.
But he does pick up the shovel from the Catfish, and it looks like he's going to go turn that in right away. Or go check out Meyer.
It does look like, yeah, the bow hint's not going to put him off of Misery Mire at all. Well, I guess he could still opt not to go in, because this is his first time in the area.
So Michael did indeed go for a Pendant Ice Palace dip. He is still missing the Ether Medallion that Oase found. So he's got to search a bit for that before heading into Mire, as Oase is doing right now.
And then there are three possible locations, counting Cold Stare for the bow to be, and a couple extra spots for the hook shot as well. So still things to be found, even if we know Ether's not going to be here.
Or he could stumble across Hookshot in here, and that opens up the bow to being in Swamp Palace.
Absolutely. Pretty solid Mire 2 room from Oase there with the sword beams and the fire rod. How many rooms in this game do you think are more difficult to do perfectly than that one?
I'm sorry, which room?
Mire 2.
That's definitely up there. At least to do the one cycle off of the Whiz Robes. But it's certainly one of the more satisfying ones once you get it down.
Yeah, it's satisfying enough that I could watch a guy just do that all day, as long as he was doing it really well.
And there's our hook shot in Misery Mire.
So that's one thing we're not going to find here in Ice Palace. Also creates a slightly silly logic chain with the flippers being behind it. Although I guess Ether was early, just in an out-of-the-way early.
But still, with the flippers being hookshot locked, that's going to be unfortunate for Oase. He's already done the rest of Dark World Death Mountain for the time being, and has already gotten one of the chests out of Hookshot Cave, so I imagine that's not very high on his priority. So he does find a piece of heart here, so now all he needs is the big key to finish off Misery Mire, since there are only 2 non-dungeon items found within this dungeon.
And as per usual routing for this dungeon, he puts off the cutscene chest for a little bit and is rewarded for it. Unfortunately for Michael, half magic is not the bow, and neither is
50. Yeah, neither is 50 rupees.
I think there's only one item left in Ice Palace. I don't think we've seen the third one yet. It wasn't in any of the front chests.
Well, the one front chest anyway.
Or this Spike Room chest either. But none of the other locations in this dungeon, aside from the boss, are hammerlocked, which means we won't see the bow at any of them if they have the item.
Oh, there's the single arrow.
Looks like Michael is going to go on and complete the dungeon on account of Green Pendant. And with the way the hint system functions, we know that that's not going to be the bow either. But as far as he's concerned, it could still be that hookshot or ether medallion he's looking for.
Meanwhile, Oase was doing some nice spooky action throughout the Mire basement there. He was able to set it up with the flute into the Mire area. I don't know if I want to get into how that one works because it takes a while to explain, but we're already up to Vitreous. We're going to go ahead and finish off this boss real quick. He's taken a couple of hits from the eyeballs, which is unfortunate. Down to one heart, getting hit by that stray strand of lightning.
I am just going to go on record and call that spooky setup a win for the No Major Glitches community over the Major Glitch one.
Oh, for sure. It's one of the best finds for No Major Glitches in a number of years. Oh. Meanwhile, Michael K gets tagged by some cold stare puffs. He's running a little low too. He can take one hit from them, but he's still got to be careful.
With 2 puffs down, I was about to say he was fine, and I was about to be a liar, but he's good.
Alright, so that's Ice Palace down. Unfortunately, didn't find anything, but does still get that green pendant that I'm sure he's going to turn in as soon as he can.
Oase on the other side had to redo his Mire too. He actually did get a 1 Wizrobe cycle without sword beams. So good use of the fire rod there to make that happen. And we're getting an hour and 17-minute Ice Rod Cave check from Michael. In a normal No Major Glitches rando, this is the sort of thing you look at it and you're like, oh, he put it off and it had the item, and that's super unfortunate. But here, not quite that bad. Oh, wait,
yeah.
I'm a liar.
Well, it does have the item that he was putting off for so long.
I'm actually a liar. God, I feel bad.
It's okay, we both forgot where Oase had found it. We thought it was Escaper Eastern, but turns out it was Ice Rod. So now he's going to go ahead and dip into Mire and get his hook shot at the very least. As well as finish out the dungeon, we hope. Meanwhile, Oase is doing some more spooky in the Mire basement. Had to go with a different setup, because I think he might have screwed up his, or he didn't actually screw up his spooky powder, or maybe he did with a powder. I wasn't entirely paying attention. For some reason, the powder messes up your spooky value if you're not careful with it. It's really hard to be careful enough with that.
Throwing the Samaria block into the void in the bridge room is a setup for that, though, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because he did do that to set it back up. And this time he does get the damage boost strats pretty perfectly. No bow, so he's got to just keep cutting until Vitreous dies.
That Popo is doing some work juking the fire rod.
Yeah, not quite as clean of Mire 2 from Michael there, but does get through it. And at this point, I'm curious about where Oase goes. He's got a couple options. I want to think it'll be Swamp Palace. Well, no, he doesn't have the flippers. It can't be Swamp Palace.
Yeah, he's got to go up to Dark World Death Mountain first to get the flippers out of Hookshot Cave if he wants to do that.
Might be Skull Woods in that case, then, because he can full clear that. On Michael's side, though, once he grabs this hook shot here, I think that'll solidify his next play as Swamp Palace, because unless we've both missed one, there's no hammerlock locations left in the game outside of Swamp Palace. So he'll know his bow is there, and that's all he needs for go mode. Although I guess we might see him just mirror over to Desert and clear that first real quick, just because it's right there in his way.
Cute little shovel dash from Oase to find a shield dug up in the flute grove.
Chooses to ignore it, which is mostly understandable. I like the red shield for exactly one room in the game, which is Land Moles 2.
Looks like he's going to take an Ice Palace dip, though. Unfortunately, he's not going to find anything of value there.
No, but it does show that he is following that bow hint. You might have a hunch that the bow is in here and the flippers are in Palace of Darkness or something like that.
Looks like Michael is trying to preserve a spooky value while using the powder. Like I said earlier, it's really hard to be careful enough with that because it's a much shorter window to kick up dash dust so you don't mess it up compared to just placing down a Samaria block. It's a very small window.
Well, we'll see in a couple rooms if he was able to preserve it. Or maybe not in the dark.
Well, we might be able to hear it in any case. He did at least get the dash dust on the block in the first place, so he's got that part of the setup still going.
He did not flip the switch, so I guess, yeah, just going back for a normal hit on it.
He's opting to go for just opening up the wall. He's not quite in the right spot for it, though. There's the door.
Not sure if he lost his spooky there when he did the powder earlier, like you mentioned, or if he just abandoned it in the dark, couldn't properly pull it off, which is harder than it looks because you've got to be able to hit some things fairly precisely.
And with that powder usage, it's definitely screwed up from here on out, so he's not going to use it in this last room.
Hardly matters in that room, though. He wanted to go up for that magic refill anyways. Pulls out Cape, chooses not to use it. Shows he's a man by taking all those damage boosts.
Oh, it gets tagged by the big eyeball.
Little too much of a man for my tastes, unfortunately. Took more damage than he can handle there. Does make it feel a little bad that he pulled out that cape and just didn't use it, though.
Right, but it also means that Oase's adventures in Mire aren't going to lose him too much time over Michael here, since he's got to do the same thing.
Yep. That's the silver lining for Oase there. But for Oase, it's still just a matter of when he gets those flippers. Because with what we know about where the bow has to be in Swamp Palace at this point, the longer he puts those off, worse shape he's in.
Yeah, he hasn't done the smiths or the hammer peg, so he might do that after here as just sort of a last-ditch effort to figure out which hammer-locked locations are left.
He hasn't done GT yet either, so that's a perfectly valid option for him.
Right.
And to answer chat, the flippers are in Hookshot Cave. Michael actually hovered for them long before the hookshot was anywhere known to us, with the hookshot being in Misery Mine.
Alright, so Oase is going to take on Cold Stare here. Has the half magic bar, has the tempered sword. So hopefully this fight will go smoothly for him. It's tagged by one of the falling ices, 2 of them, which kind of screws up his setup for keeping them all together. He's got to finish off this last puff without taking any hits.
Is able to do it. Yeah. That falling ice really ruined his corner setup there, which... a little unfortunate, but he toughed through it, no problem.
And as Michael is going through Vidi here, Ramen Meat's asking, did he do GT already? He did the basement. He did all the stuff on the bottom, but he actually did not climb the tower yet. He could have using the Mimic Clip, but I guess he decided to not do that yet here.
I'm thinking that he probably decided with Palace of Darkness being a crystal, meaning the bow is hard required anyways, it wasn't worth his time to bother with Mimic Clip, and instead he'd just come back with the bow later. Especially if he gets his 7 crystals first, and Ganon's tower will dump him out on top of the pyramid.
So this is Oase's first trip into Skull Woods. Michael's already fully cleared this dungeon through 2 trips. He didn't have the fire rod the first time, and the second one was off of a mirror wrap after Turtle Rock. Not mirror wrap, map wrap.
Looks like we're going to see just back to front routing from Oase here, since he has to kill the boss regardless. If I recall correctly, one item was on the drop-down chest on the left side of the front, and the other was in the bridge chest in the back. Is that accurate? Do you remember?
Yes, there was one item in the very back section, and then of course one up at the front. So that's all we've got for the items here.
So unfortunately, no routing here, really, short of knowing exactly where the items are to begin with, would save Oase any time here. He's probably going to be checking almost everything regardless. One short hop on the land mole is on the first cycle. Does mean he's not able to get the 1 cycle, but cleans it up on the 2nd cycle, no problem. Gets his 5th crystal.
Meanwhile, Oase had a pretty good Momi Hellway there, able to get the Fire Rod Dash to work properly going out of the room. And now we'll see his Moth fight. It looks like he got the double hit that he was looking for. Yep. Nice quick fight.
That's about as clean as that fight ever gets. Every NMG runner's wet dream right there.
Not quite. I see 2 spikes invisible, and I've heard there's a rating system where it's out of 10 minus the number of spikes that are gone. So that would be an 8 out of 10. Still very good.
Okay, yeah, not absolutely perfect then. My apologies, but still really good, yeah.
Now we're finally seeing our swamp check. We have reason to believe that the bow is locked in here somewhere.
We
did get
sorry,
the pedestal check. The pedestal check from Oase, just a heart piece up on there.
Yeah, we did get the hint very early on in the seed that the bow was somewhere behind the hammer. And I am fairly confident we have exhausted all hammer-locked spots in the seed aside from Swamp Palace. So if the bow's not here, then hell if I know.
Alright, so Oase has found his second item out of Skull Woods, is done with that dungeon entirely, has his crystal, has his items, is going to move on to other pastures.
Yep. And with that Skull Woods clear, he actually does have the same 4 crystals that Michael has. He just doesn't have anything out of the basement of GT, which didn't really amount to anything required, if I recall correctly.
Right.
But... yeah, sorry, go on.
Well, yeah, he does. It's not in GT, and he's going to clear off these couple of overworld locations, the Smith and Hammer Pegs and such. He knows the purple chest is just cash, while we find our bow in the big chest of Swamp.
Yeah, with the big key in the first chest, that's probably the best location for it. It means he doesn't have to bother with that slow chest at the bottom, doesn't have to bother with the left side.
Doesn't have to bother with any of the chests in the back here.
Yep. And with Tempered Sword, Silver Arrows, and Half Magic all in hand, I can't see him really wanting for anything in the way of safety either. But yeah, with that bow pickup, Michael's in go mode just over an hour and a half into the seed. Just rush to Argus, navigate Palace of Darkness key logic to find its big key, go kill Helmasaur, and then back to Ganon's Tower with him. Oase is grabbing the purple chest, which will ruin his 999 rupees. Yeah, well, Oase got the hint about the purple chest. If I recall correctly, it was in Eastern Palace.
Yeah,
but at this point, it's been an hour or so since he's been in there, so good chance that he just forgot about it.
Looks like he's doing the green pendant turn in here, even though we know that that cannot be the bow. He's thinking it might be the flippers, I think.
Yeah. Because at this point, the flippers are the key item for him. Pretty sure Oase has exhausted all of the locations to the point where he knows the bow is in Swamp Palace. He just also knows he cannot get in there without the flippers.
And he may have just realized that the flippers are up here on Dark World Death Mountain.
Let's see if he chooses Ganon's Tower over Hookshot Cave, though.
He could be doing Spike Cave into Pyramid Fairy, though.
Oh, right. Pyramid Fairy is also another location we haven't seen from either runner. Don't think we've seen the hint either. Nice Sink Heart, though. Saves him having to pick up the hearts out of those pots for recovery.
Alright, looks like he is going to go into Ganon's Tower here. Oase, that is.
He'll pick up his Silver Arrows if he does fully clear it. And his Bombos Medallion, I guess, but frankly, at this point, neither of those items is what he's looking for. So, it's just unfortunate. He chose the dense location of 20-something checks over the three checks of Hookshot Cave, and it's just not the right answer, even though mathematically it is the correct play. No big key for Michael in the first 3 checks of Palace of Darkness, so he's got to keep searching for that. It's the unfortunate part of being in go mode in this dungeon. You got to check more chests than you'd like to.
Yeah, that's why Go Mode Pod doesn't really mean too much in the grand scheme of things as compared to Go Mode Swamp or Ice Palace.
Yeah, Swamp and Ice Palace are obviously the dream go mode dungeons. Pod can be really nice if the big key is convenient. It just turned out in this case that it's not. So now I guess we get the question of how he'll route the back. There's 2 main options that I see. He can either hammer jump into the dark maze and just navigate his way through that, pick up both chests, and exit through the door. Or he can put it off till last.
It just depends where he wants to mirror from.
Right. I don't think it matters significantly if you're going to mirror either way, but looks like he is putting it off.
Well, also got a little bit 1.0 there with the hole dropping down to Ice Armos, with the Anti-Fairy just kind of taking up the middle there. That's one of the unique things about Japanese 1.0. You still take damage even when you're falling in a hole. That did get fixed in the US and later versions. Well, also, did activate his beer net a little too early. Once the Ice Armos start spinning, they will keep spinning around, but they will stay in place up until they start moving around. So you gotta make sure they all get to their positions first before trying to damage them like that.
Looks like, if I saw that correctly, Michael may have picked up a gold sword in the dark basement, but no big key.
It could have... Well, I didn't see what he dashed around with, so I didn't see if his sword color changed. That could have been the mushroom as well.
I think I saw a gold sword when he was dashing, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm hoping he'll pull up a menu so I can double check that. Yes, he did. I saw it on his menu.
Well, he also picked up another item in the dark room there, which could have also been the mushroom or gold sword or whatnot.
That one in the very bottom chest was the big key he was looking for.
Oh, okay. That's why he opened up his menu. That makes sense.
It had to be the big key because that was the last possible location for it, but still psychologically wanted to confirm it before mirroring out. Not quite simultaneous cutscenes on both sides as Oase finishes up his Ganon's Tower tile room before Michael's able to put an arrow in that ice witch. But nothing much to see on both sides unless you like torch rooms.
Well, this was the last bit that Oase can clear in logic for the Ganon's Tower basement. Again, he could go up to the top if he's willing to do the mimic clip, but he might not, considering he's still looking for bow and flippers and such.
And at this point, he knows that the flippers can't be upstairs as well because they're locking the bow. Looks like it is still the mountain for him. So, Hookshot Cave it may finally be.
Or Pyramid Fairy. Depends on which he chooses first. He's keeping his screen wrapped, so I'm guessing it's going to be Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, that is an option too. It's not a bad decision from him. It's an efficient check for the most part. But it's just not the one that actually has the item in this case.
I mean, it is 3 items for him, since I don't think we've seen the actual pyramid standing item either.
No, we haven't.
And while Oase is fluting down to the house so his mirror portal stays preserved, Michael K picks up his 7th crystal and now has to make his way back up to GT, all the way to the top, and kill Aga 2.
Big key already found, so it will just be a straight go mode climb for him. But it will take him at least a few seconds to get back up there. Oase is on 15 hearts after picking up another full container from the Pyramid Fairy. Snubs the 300 on the ledge, though.
Oase going through the back of Escape. I guess we hadn't seen that from either player. Picks up a heart piece that brings him up to 16 hearts now. Still no flippers.
And he's leaving the mountain. Not sure what he wants to do, though, it looks like.
Looks like it's going to be a pod check.
That's unfortunate for him again. It is more items than the Pyramid Fairy. Up to 5 of them. But again, it's just... Even though it's a good play from most perspectives, it's just not the one that'll yield the item he needs. And on the other side, the gold sword and silver arrows make an absolute joke out of the gauntlet, except for when Beamos decide to get in the way. Michael actually waiting in the previous room to try to better sync up the land mola spawns and get gold sword hits. Gold sword does rod damage to the land mola, so only 2 hits needed to kill each one. Not quite able to get a 2-cycle though.
Looks like Oase checked the first chest, figured out that pod was bow locked, and is now trying to think, where the heck can I go now?
Pod being bow locked is easily the best thing that could have happened to him.
Now, he checked the Zora area, but didn't hit the waterfall fairy yet.
Almost got tagged by that fireball, which would have been really tragic. I'm trying to figure out where he's going with this Village of Outcast Dark World portal. Where hasn't he been yet besides Hookshot Cave?
I think he never checked Bumper Ledge, because he first came down off of a fake flute. Although he didn't he Super Bunny off of the tree, so he knows that that's not going to be anything. He's already turned in Purple Chest. He's done Smith and such. Did he skip the digging game earlier? I don't think he did, because he did grab the fire rod off of Stumpy.
Right. Pretty sure I saw him do that, even though it was nothing.
I wonder if he's just going to Swamp Palace for the hint.
I would think he would have used the Link's house portal for that, but he did run all the way down here, so quite possibly.
It may just be he's trying to think of things he has or has not done, and that just happens to be one of them. Oh, wonderful.
Thanks, game. Michael did just hover and skip Moldworm 2 there, which puts him in the Aga 2 fight as soon as he enters the store.
Although he did take a fall to Moldorm too many times over just killing him normally and using the hook shot anyway.
Yeah, but it looks cool. Just like his net strats here. Not effective at all, didn't get any hits off, but looked cool. That's all that really matters in the end. Looks like he may have given up on the net, though.
Sometimes it's just a little too unwieldy.
He's got 5 hits in now. And there's the 6th, so as soon as this cutscene finishes, he'll be into the Ganon fight.
Alright, we're seeing a flute to the mountain from Oase. I wonder if he's remembered that he didn't quite get everything out of Hookshot Cave yet.
For his sake, let's hope so.
Meanwhile, Michael is a little low on health here. If he takes a couple of bad hits, he's going to have to redo his Ganon fight here. Meanwhile, Oase getting a little trapped down below here. He didn't quite jump where he needed to do a quick little screen wrap to get up to the back of the Hookshot Cave. So he gets himself a little stuck, unfortunately. But he seems to be headed toward where he needs to go.
Yeah, I was going to call out that he took a completely normal, no major glitches route to get to East Dark Death Mountain, but I wasn't sure. I don't think I've seen that route before, so I didn't know where it would take him.
Alright, and there's our 4th silver arrow into Ganon, which is a kill for Michael K.
Just gotta cross everybody's mortal enemy, the 1x3 bridge, and he'll be done. And there it is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say he just finished with a time of 1:50:32, which, considering some of the things in this seed, that's fairly respectable. So let's go ahead and pull him in for an interview since he's in the waiting room. Hello and GG Michael. Finishing that seed in under 2 hours. Pretty solid considering a lot of those placements.
Yeah, GG. Ice Palace was a bust, I guess.
Yep, a bust of an Ice Palace. It really just turned out to be just a mad dash to figure out where the hell the bow was. I mean, we had that pretty early on. It just didn't really show up anywhere.
Well, I was pretty sure that the bow was in Swamp once I found the hint. but I kind of don't want to go in there without the hookshot.
Yeah, also worth noting, Oase did finally get back to Hookshot Cave and find his flippers, and then immediately forfeited the race. So that will be the end of that.
Yep. I guess hovering in the seat helped out.
Immensely so. Because Oase, he checked the first chest of Hookshot Cave, the bonk one, fairly early. And then I think getting back there may have been his last possible location.
Well, he could probably still check some dumb stuff, but yeah. Doesn't sound like he had a great time.
I am fairly confident he checked all the dumb stuff, though I won't deny I might be forgetting something.
Yeah. I had at the end known that the bow had to be in between one of two shacks, either Swamp Palace or Spike Cave for me. Don't know if Olas has checked that.
Yeah, he checked those.
Yeah.
He also kind of last locationed the second sword in order to get the Moon Pearl off the tablets. He tried going to the Batcave early on, but didn't quite get the clip right, so he wound up in the water, and that did not help for quite a long time.
Without the flippers, you can pretty easily avoid the hardlock there at least, so looks like Oase was able to misalign his camera.
Yeah, it's just part of the weird parts of screen wrapping yourself on overworld glitches.
Yeah.
It's never required except for Batcave, but that one is pretty safe once you're on the other side.
Yeah. Without flippers, you pretty much just have to never press left after jumping and you get through.
I think that may have been his problem, because he did wind up in a fake flipper state after landing instead of in the Batcave.
And yeah, last strat was for me in Path of Darkness. I think the U room, the right chest. I only looked for the big key, but I noticed in the turtle room that I do have gold sword.
Yeah, it took me a few seconds to notice that as well. I didn't notice that until you were dashing into the dark maze.
Yeah, it's not the thing that you usually look at unless you're like actually fighting enemies and want to hit them. And even then, you might not even notice.
No, but it's still a nice find to have anyways. When you're already in go mode, have everything else, and you have to check that anyways looking for a big key.
I am looking forward when they finally fix the darkroom items that they all show up properly.
Oh yeah, I am so looking forward to that.
That's going to be a V31 thing, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, that's confirmed to be version 31. They will somehow fix that. I don't know. To be honest, I would be happy if they would at least just change the palette of those items to something that gets shown if they turn up in there. Would already be a good fix. But yeah, that Easter medallion was... Did Oyasu find the Easter medallion early, or did it took him a bit later, long as I did?
He got it a lot earlier than you did, but he did try a map wrap from Desert to Ice Rod, which unfortunately wound up in a hard lock when a bush bomb appeared right in front of the cave, and he got hard locked.
Yeah, with those bush bombs, you kind of need to look out, because they usually hit you once you walked over them, not before. So you can avoid it, but it's not easy. Need to look out for stuff like that.
He was able to get back there not that long after, though. And I think Misery Mire was his third crystal, if I remember correctly. But he just never leveraged that hook shot back into Hookshot Cave, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was hard to justify that since he was already done with Turtle Rock at that point.
Yeah. The only way that he would have done it was with a Ganon's Tower play, but that unfortunately ended up getting put off as well.
Yeah, makes sense to put off GT usually, but in this at least we had the hint that something's behind the hammer and half GT is hammerlocked, so a good thing to check relatively early once you find the hammer.
I was personally really rooting for that bow to be in the Thieves' Town big chest once the hammer did show up, though.
Oh yeah, that one was also a thing that we could have checked, but well, in the end, the last item was on the boss. So it was a mirror. Was also nice. Hey, 156 collection, nice.
That's actually pretty good considering how much of your tracker's lit up.
Also, tracker, I have the flute and I even have it activated, so please.
I think the tracker was eating more than a couple inputs this race, which does happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. Also, in Pirates of Darkness, I had the last bottle found, so... By the way, does anyone need green goo? I have a lot of that from the seed.
Well, you used a lot of it, too.
Yeah. Well... Yeah, the waterfall fairy gave green goo, and 2 of the chest bullets gave green goo. Don't worry, Sami. You're doing great. Thanks for all the tracking, and of course, thanks for the commentary, Rack and Touchstone.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I had fun with this race. I got to see more than a few new things as well, so thanks to you and Oase for showing all that off for me. And for chat, and Tosa already knew about him, so...
Yeah, I probably should not try 3 times to wrap to Laser Bridge next time. Could be a waste of time. Yeah, I guess you can wrap this one up.
Yeah, I'll take a sec. I'll shout out the SpeedGaming schedule real quick for the rest of the evening. On the main SpeedGaming channel, Zelda 1 Randomizer started about half an hour ago. Similarly, on SpeedGaming 5, the Link to the Past Randomizer Daily Race series started about half an hour ago with Inverted Key Sanity. So feel free to check out either of those races in progress if you're interested. Or the Zelda 2 Randomizer Community Weekly on SpeedGaming 4. If none of those suit your fancy or you're not interested in joining a race in progress, there's Final Fantasy 1 Randomizer on SpeedGaming 2 at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Well then, goodbye.
And then for this tournament, there's a pair of matches tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern with Hacksaw vs. Glan and JC vs. Obscure Lifeform. And then another one at 9 with Fuzzy Games vs. Ultima. Restream information to be determined for all of those. So if anybody's interested in any of those, definitely check them out. And I suppose, other than that, I've been Reg, my commentary partner tonight, and the guy that actually knows everything has been Tosho, and the runners have been Michael and Ase. So, shout outs to everybody involved and our tracker Sanimas, and good night, everybody.
Catch you all later.